That's less good than 9. Hello everyone, welcome back to Foster the Meeple, a channel all about board games and board gamey things. I'm back again today with another pumped up Kickstarter. And today's pumped up Kickstarter preview is on Scales of Fate from Ivy Studio, who very kindly sponsored today's video. Not only did they sponsor today's video, but they are the sponsor of the month here on Foster the Meeple. So huge shout out to Ivy Studio. Now, as per usual with my preview videos, this is not going to be an official how to play, but rather I am just kind of showing you how the game works to help you figure out whether or not it's a good fit for you. This is a prototype. It looks great as per usual with Ivy Studio games, but it is a prototype, which means that anything that you see can possibly be changed if they decide to do that. And then the last thing I wanted to say is that if this does seem like a game that you're going to be interested in, I'm going to have all of the links, everything that you need to know in the description below. So make sure you go down there, click the links, and check it out if it sounds like something that you might like. So without further ado, let's dive into the preview, shall we? We shall. Scales of Fate is a head-to-head battle that unfolds over 3 ages, where players strategically send demigods into the world to gain or lose renown. You'll have 2 demigods under your care. Will you keep them close or send them on separate paths? Victory goes to the player with the most points at the end of the 3 ages, earned through the distance between your 2 assigned demigods in renown, or the renown they share if they occupy the same location, and correctly deducing which 2 demigods your opponent controls. But what does that mean? I'm so glad you asked. Let's take a closer look at how the game works. Scales of Fate unfolds over 3 ages, and during each age, players will strategically place demigods onto available action tiles. So here's the board, take a look at it. And you may recognize some of these demigods and some of the iconography if you have ever played Veiled Fate from Ivy Studio. This is in that same world. I wouldn't say that this is like directly a 2-player only version of that game, but it is set in the same world, and you're going to see a lot of similarities within the symbolism, the actions, and of course the demigods themselves. Placing these demigods allows players to send demigods to the abyss, assign the end result of the abyss, or gain valuable servant tokens to use. Each placement also positions that demigod adjacent to 2 different quest tokens, creating opportunities for servants to send them up or down the renown track. The age is going to end when all action tiles have been filled and all servants have been placed. Turns are going to go back and forth between players, and on your turn, you will take one of the following actions. First action is you can place a demigod. Take any demigod off the board and place it on any open action tile, immediately taking that action. So you can choose any of the demigods. It doesn't have to be one of the 2 that you're assigned. And by the way, how that happens at the beginning of the game, you'll be dealt out 2 cards, 2 demigod cards, and that is how you know. That, of course, is a secret. You definitely don't want the other player to know what you have. But you are going to choose one of the demigods and you are going to place it on an action tile. These are the action tiles, the ones that are slightly elevated, okay? So you're going to place it and then immediately take the action, and I'm going to go over what those actions are, so don't even worry about it. There are 5 different action types. The first one is Smite, which is this symbol right up here. You could take any demigod from off the board and place them directly into the abyss. If all demigods are on the board, you may not place here. So let's just say this was the situation. I did this. I'm going to smite that demigod, throwing them into the abyss. Next, we have Abyss Fate, which is this symbol right here. Move the abyss marker either left or right, deciding the fate of everyone in the abyss at the end of the age. So you would be moving this to the left, to the right, and it's all kind of outlined at the bottom of this card, which we will go over. Next up, we have Penance Servant, which is this one right here. You will take the Penance token and place it in front of you to be used in a future turn this age. Then we have the Vesper Servant, which is the white one. That's the exact same deal, but you're going to take the Vesper token and place it in front of you to be used on a future turn this age. And finally, we have Hadria's Servants, which is the red token here. You're going to take one of the Hadria's Servant tokens and, you guessed it, place it in front of you to be used on a future turn this age. Placing a demigod and doing the action is the first type of action that you can take. Or instead, you can place a servant. This action is only available if you have gained a servant from a previous turn this age. You're going to place your servant token on any open slot on the outer edge of the quest and immediately score the demigods targeted by that servant. So if I had this servant here, I could potentially place it here. Here, let's put out some examples like so, okay? I could place it right here. I could place it here. I could place it here. Placing servants is the primary way to influence a demigod's renown. When performing the servant action, you'll take a servant token that you collected earlier in the age and place it on an available space along the outer edge of the quest. Once placed, you'll evaluate and score tokens affected by that servant. So the Penance Servant, which you'll remember is the green one, is going to target all Scorpion or Dark quests in the row or column it is placed beside. So if we were to place it here, it's going to target all the Scorpion or the Dark. So you'll see there's Dark and there's Light. So all of the Dark quests in the row or column that it's placed. So this one is actually going to be triggering these two. Any demigods connected to these quests will gain or lose renown based on the values displayed on the quest. So in this instance, if we had placed this servant here, triggering this, the blue demigod is going to gain 2 renown and you would move their renown up. The Vesper Servant, which you'll remember is the white one, targets all feather or light quests in the row or column it is placed beside. So if we were to place it here, it would be targeting this column. The orange would be losing a renown and green would be losing 2 renown. And finally, the Hadria's Servant. Now the Hadria's Servant will affect only the quest it directly touches, whether it's dark or light. Any demigods connected to that quest will gain or lose renown based on the values displayed. So if I had placed it here, then this green would lose 2 renown. The other type of action that you could do is you can use a god power. Take any of the 3 available God Power tokens and immediately perform its actions. So we have the 3 God Powers in front of us. We have Smite, Switch, and Steal. With Smite, you will send any demigod to the abyss. This works in a similar fashion to the Smite action outlined earlier with one key exception. The God Power, Smite, can send any demigod to the abyss, including those already placed on an action tile. If a demigod already on the board is sent to the abyss this way, flip the action tile over. A player may now place a new demigod on this empty action tile, but that player will not get an action. For the Switch God Power, you will switch the positions of any 2 demigods, like so. These can be from anywhere off the board, on an action tile, or from the abyss. And finally, with the Steal God Power, take an unused servant token from your opponent. You can now use this on a future turn. So you're literally just stealing from them. When you use a God Power token, you're going to flip it face down in front of you. It's no longer available for the rest of the game. These are powerful tools, but they do come at a cost. First, they take up a valuable turn. Second, each God Power used will give you a -1 score penalty at the end of the game to the player who used them. The end of an age is triggered when all action tiles have been filled and all servants have been placed. It is possible that one person will perform multiple actions in a row, but the other player still has the opportunity to use a God Power between those actions, if they're available. When the age ends, perform the following steps in order. You're going to score the demigods in the abyss according to the abyss marker by gaining or losing renown. If this was the end situation, the purple and the teal demigod are going to gain a renown based on where this token is. Now, if it were over here, they would lose 2 renown. But because it's here, they're both going to gain 1. Both players announce if any of their assigned demigods fit the criteria on the top of the current age card with a yes or a no. So in this example on the Forgotten, Demi's out of play. So if this were the final situation for the age, and I had the red demigod, that's one of my demigods, I would have to say yes, because I do have a demigod that is out of play. So it's giving people information. This will give you clues as to who your opponent's demigods might be. Getting this right at the end of the game will score you points. You want to keep track of all of this information on your demigod pad. So as an example, if I had red and in this situation I said yes, let's say my opponent had yellow, so they were like, okay, well they have to be either gray or red. You would write that down here on your little sheet, all right? Then you will set up a new age and continue the game until the end of the 3rd age when the game will come to an end. So to do a new age, you'll remove that age card. The next age is going to come up and you will reset the board. So the demigods are all going to be coming off and the card is going to show you how you're going to be setting up. There are 4 of these red backed tiles and that is going to show you where one of them needs to be. It'll also show you where all of the other action tiles are, and then you're just going to shuffle up the rest. They're all gold on the back. You'll shuffle them up and then you'll place them out at random. Once the game ends, you will move on to endgame scoring. If your demigods are on different spaces of the renown track, you will score the difference in renown between them. So as an example, very spread out, let's just say I had yellow. Actually, let's keep with this example. Let's say that I had red and pink. So the difference, I have 8 minus 5, so I'm going to score 3 points. Okay, so that's one way you will score. Or if your demigods are on the same space, you're just going to score that number of points. So in this instance, this player would score 9 points, which is pretty impressive. So you either want there to be a very big gap or you want to keep moving your demigods together because just remember, it's a little risky. If at the end of the game someone pushes you to 1 extra renown, now instead of 9, you've scored 1. That's less good than 9. You will then score a number of points based on how many demigods you guessed correctly for your opponent. Now, if you guess 2 correct, you'll get 3 points. 1 correct will be 0 points, and 0 correct is going to be -1 point. Whoever has the most points wins. So I know what you're thinking. Who is this game for? Well, this game is for fans of chess-like abstract strategy games. You need to be clever and you need to be good at keeping secrets. You will need to manipulate the board to ensure you score as many points as possible while trying to determine which gods your opponent controls so you're able to manipulate those as well. If you enjoyed Veiled Fate and have been looking for a way to play it at 2 players, this isn't exactly it, but it's definitely going to give you similar feelings. This game can get really mean, especially if you know, like let's just say I was playing Jeff and these are his and I knew, like I guessed it from based off of the age cards and like things that he was doing. And so I'm really then going to be trying to like force this situation to happen. And that's mean, but in a fun way. This game will make your brain burn and you will find yourself wanting to mess with your opponent as much as possible, trip them up, and of course outwit them. This is very much so a brain birdie game. Jeff and I played this at Level Up and we were just kind of like sitting there like, what should I do? How can I be sneaky? How can I screw him over? How can I deduce what the heck is going on? And so if that's your kind of game, then this could be a really good fit for you. It definitely can cause a little bit of AP, of course, where it does have a lot of that puzzly element in it. But Jeff and I played this very quickly, so it can be really snappy unless you run into a little bit of that AP, in which case it could take a little bit longer, but that's totally up to the player, I guess. But my friends, that is Scales of Fate. Now, if this sounds like it might be a good fit for you, I am going to have all of the information, everything you need to know linked in the description below. As per usual, please go to the Kickstarter page, watch videos. As like it's Ivy Studio, they're going to have a ton of content out that you can consume. Watch playthroughs, watch reviews, watch previews, read the rulebook, do all of those things to help you figure out whether or not this is a good fit for you. Another big shout out to Ivy Studio for sponsoring this month of Foster the Meeple and for sponsoring today's video. Huge shout out to them. You know what you're getting is going to be a highly produced, beautiful game. So that's what you get when you get Ivy Studio games, that's for sure. But that's everything that I have for you today. Now, if you're interested in buying board games like other games from Ivy Studio, you should first start by checking your friendly local gaming store. For us, that's the Boardroom Game Cafe. And if you like what you see, please subscribe. I hope to see you again soon. And now I say goodbye. Goodbye.